Haidong! In this video, we're going to discuss the end of Ssangsu 12. You might be seeing a theme here with some of the recent videos, but the very end of Form 12, again, doesn't make that much sense if you just take it for face value. Again, just like with the idea with the beginning of Form 12, I'm going to assume that we are going to be using a Ssangsu gum, although you don't need to do it for the entirety of the interpretation of this, but let's take a look. Just so you know where we're talking, right? So we're here, we stab, we check, we grab, we do this technique that I talked about in the previous video that's very Ssangsu gum-ish. Grab, two-hand diagonal, switch, one-hand diagonal, and then we have our fancy little put away. Now if we take that at face value, things get really strange. Now the stab was fine actually. So if you remember, we actually did that running center cut, so we actually do have an opponent that we could finish off there. Right? So if we're here, we actually do finish that person off. This, again, if we assume it's an actual block, is iffy, right? Because like if someone was close enough, like chasing after me when I was finishing off this person, this is not really going to block that much because then it's going to hurt my wrist. Although it is better to block than not to block over here. But then we go into this technique here. Now there are a few things you could interpret, just things don't make as much sense. Normally whenever we have an open hand, we think about grappling, right? So if we're here and maybe I blocked a sword arm, for example, I can grab underneath and maybe try to attack them. But what do we do next? We're here, so if I did grapple, I can't strike with this. I need to grab, switch, and cut again. Okay, so like this, which is usually used to kind of grapple, seems weird, and what I talked about in the previous Form 12, like the aspects of Form 12, we can use this guard to kind of cut this way, kind of get your distance, but that also seems very strange for us in what we're doing right now, right? But again, so if we're here, we have an open hand, again, we could maybe grapple somehow, but then we would need to release whatever grapple we have to come in with a big cut. Allegedly, that would probably be the dispatch, and then we have this other reverse cut. Okay, so obvious interpretations don't really abound, right? So I'm actually going to go straight into, again, what I'm thinking is going on. So firstly, I discussed that these techniques are both very, very common in Ssangsu gum. So I have my handy little bow here. So we could actually just play with it, right? So the idea here is I could, again, finish off that person there. Again, that's why this stance is really strong this way. I could check behind me. Again, this hand not really blocking so much as guiding the mass of a very long, very heavy, very sharp sword. From here, it's like, okay, grab, coming in this way here. So this actually has a different thing now. So before we're using this hand to kind of grapple, this can actually be used to brace the sword behind you this way. Now, is it really that strong? No. But at least this way I have some sort of control. So if I need to, I can maybe do some sort of technique bracing it that way. Okay. Next move seems weird. Now in the Federation, we go horizontal, grab, grab, over, cut. If you do that with a really heavy, really long sword, it's not as comfortable. So just so you know. So from here, I would actually recommend up to actually have a little bit more of the mass like underneath. Grab, grab, cut this way. Okay, but we're here, right? Maybe I'm bracing it, maybe I'm not, who knows what's going on there. Up, grab, nice powerful diamond cut. Okay. But if I was close enough to be in a defense with someone, yeah, anyway, from here, and then switch reverse and cut down. Okay, so that still doesn't really make as much sense, right? So we usually end with a final dispatch, right? If our final dispatch is in fact this one, where we actually have, you know, like a ki and stuff like that, seems weird, right? Because like if I'm facing you, I do this, you know exactly what's coming next. It's no like, oh, are you gonna do like a spin stab? Oh, you came with exactly what I expect you to do. So it's really, really heavily telegraphed. If that is a final dispatch, the person is probably either like dying or not even really worth finishing in that circumstance. So it could be finishing someone off, but we already have a technique for that we've been using. We've been using this technique to finish people off. So that seems weird. So let's talk about, let's go into what I think. As a preface to this, remember the very end of Ssangsu 4. That's probably not where you're thinking we're going to go. But like, okay, so the preface of 4, right, so we did our spin, diagonal, set forward, yeah! That's our finishing move. That's the last person we dispatch. And then we have these techniques here. Okay, what were they doing? Again, if you are super into just like going over the top, it could be, you know, cut, kill someone, cut, dispatch someone, and focus. But my personal interpretation of that one has been, all right, so I finished someone off, they're there, I'm gonna check that everything's clear here. So now I have seen all of this, including a little bit of there when I did my diagonal cut. And now I thrust this way, or check this way. So now I finish seeing the full 360. I'm clear, and then I put away. Okay, that might kind of show what I might be thinking this is going to be. So what we did, right, so we just did our center cut, and we do our spin here. That's our final dispatch. No one else is going to be around. From here, again, if you have a really heavy weapon, it's easy to pop up. Use your hand to guide it, kind of move it in a new direction. So you don't know that you're safe yet. You're here, you thrust, pop it out of the body, use your hand to guide and you move the mass, checking this way. So notice now that I've seen this, like this 90-degree angle. Now it's including this portion. Now that I do this, maybe a little bit more even from there. Like, okay, so now I know for the grand majority that I'm safe. I haven't checked this area yet. Here, grab, check, 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 check. We're here. Okay, right? So at this point, we have checked the whole surroundings. No one is like actively charging towards me. I'm safe. I don't need to be in a defense anymore, even if this one's weird, right? So, but we still have 2 moves left. Well, what do we do at the very end of 6, for example? We have that happy little false edge, finishing someone off, and then this whole sequence. Now, I did talk about this in our Ssangsu video, or in our Ssangsu 6 video. That's not finishing anyone off, according to me. Could be different with Federation, but we're here. This is, again, getting the blood, away from the hilt. Letting it drip down, getting a little more off, and just a general cool down. Okay, I now know I'm safe. I'm just gonna very telegraphically grab, cut, get the blood away from the hilt, switch to reverse, and this is not so much a cut, so much as it is just getting the sword to your other side, because if this is a really long weapon, this whole motion is going to be pretty hard on my wrist. You can do it, like we do in Ssangsu 8, but we're here and put away. Now, why do we switch to reverse grip? Because it's just easier to put swords away in reverse grip, especially if you have a really long sword, almost like it's a Ssangsu gun. It's just so much easier to put swords away if they are in reverse grip. So, there we go, right? So it's not as glamorous potentially as you might be thinking, but this is an interpretation that I'm very happy with because it does, again, bring back concepts from before and makes sense of a very weird sequence of moves. And again, it just again, fits the whole story. So I guess with that, just like with everything else, again, these applications are my weird interpretations. Your master will probably, have a different idea, but as now there are thoughts about it. But I guess so with that, make sure you stay safe, stay humble, and keep training. Haidong.